Virus 13, Chapter 42. The first thing James saw upon entering the Commons was a body sprawled out on the floor. Ed rushed towards it while James followed closely behind. As he got closer, he was appalled to see that it was Dr. Parody lying on his back, eyes closed dead still. Kneeling down, Ed put 2 fingers into Dr. Parody's neck. As soon as his fingers touched the wrinkled folds of skin, the old man's eyes opened. "Ah!" screamed Dr. Parody at the top of his lungs. "Shit!" yelled Ed, the miraculous reanimation of the doctor taking him by surprise. "Whoa, whoa, Dr. Parody, it's just us," said James, trying to calm the old man down. The fear in Dr. Parody's features faded when he recognized the 2 friendly faces above. The doctor relaxed and tried to smile. "James, Ed, glad to see you. I thought he had to come back." "Are we?" "Yes, I'm afraid so." "Are you okay?" "Oh, yes, I will be fine." Ollie the bastard electrocuted the piss out of him. As you can see, Dr. Parody glanced down at the dark area of saturation on his trousers. "They were looking for a vaccine." He laughed at this. "So you're involved with this virus too?" asked the disappointed James. Dr. Parody smiled and started to say something, but was cut off by Ed's thundering voice. "There's no time for questions. We need to find Ollie now. Linda is in danger." The old man broke eye contact with James. "I'm afraid Ed's right. Ollie is probably headed toward her lab as we speak. One of the Homeland agents is with him. Be careful." A wave of unease surged in James. He wondered how many dream firm employees were involved in Westman's terrorist plot. Shaking the thought from his mind, he focused on his more pressing concern, Linda. "Ed, we have to get to her now." "Agreed. Dr. Parody, will you be okay?" "Boys, I'll be as okay as a man can be with a death sentence. I don't have long till the virus does its dirty work. I'd like to have a little peace and quiet, so you can just leave me here." "Let us help you into a chair," James pleaded. "No, I'm comfortable here. That, and from the incredible pain I'm feeling in my groin. I suspect that I might have a hip fracture. Best to stay down here for the moment." He winced and waved them on. "Now go." James couldn't help but feel sorry for Dr. Parody, despite his involvement with the virus. He had known the doctor his entire life. The efforts of the virus would be nasty, and he wished there was more he could do for him. Paradis knew damn well what was approaching. First, the virus would enter the body, infecting and multiplying in the respiratory tract. The lungs would be the site of the most lethal damage. Parody's immune system would respond to the virus by releasing molecular signals that cause inflammation and the release of the additional inflammatory signals. This exaggerated immune response would cause so much swelling in the lungs that the airways would become blocked. As he coughed harder and harder, his lung tissue would be traumatized to the point where his lungs would hemorrhage and deteriorate like wet paper bags. In 24 hours, a sweating and shivering Dr. Parody would be blue in the face, mouth sticky with rust-flavored blood, unable to get any oxygen through his destroyed lungs. Suffocation would follow, death shortly thereafter. James tried not to think about the billions of other people who would suffer the same fate. First and foremost, he had to stop Ari and make damn sure that Linda got out of this alive. Easier said than done. That violent, genetically enhanced sociopath on the loose. "Go on. I'm an old man. Dying is the only thing I'm good for now. Get the hell out of here and go stop Ari from messing everything up," yelled Dr. Parody. Ed and James jogged toward the door, leaving the ailing Dr. Parody lying on the ground. The 2 men were almost there when they heard the loud swoosh of sliding doors opening behind them. James was shocked to see the Homeland Security agents sprinting into the room, guns drawn and pointing directly at them. The shorter agent was holding something bloody in his hand, which could only be Dr. Wistman's other thumb, explaining how they managed to open the door in the first place. "Stop! Put your hands in the air!" screamed the short agent. Without a moment of hesitation, Ed rode to his right, coming to a halt down on one knee, gun drawn. James dived behind the table as the crack of a gunshot split the air. Ed fired on the agents. Another gunshot rang, followed by an explosion of blood from the Ed's right thigh. He grunted, crashing down next to James, his blood-splattered hands gripping his thighs so tightly his fingers went white. Holy shit, holy shit, James repeated. He whipped off his belt and pulled it tight around Ed's bleeding thigh. Meanwhile, the agents cautiously approached. Ed and James huddled underneath the table, out of sight. "You're trapped," hollered the short agent from across the room. "Get face down on the ground and put your arms behind your back." "What do we do?" shouted James between deep gasps for breath. His heart felt like it was seconds away from leaping out of his chest. "You've got to get to Linda." Ed's face contorted in pain as he moved his leg. "These guys know they're infected. They don't want to arrest us, they want revenge. I'll do my best to hold them off. Just stop Ollie. I can't leave you. You've been shot, and I don't have security access." Reaching into his pocket, James procured a key card and threw it to James. He then reached down and pulled out another gun from a holster hidden around his leg. "Christ, how many of those do you have?" "More than necessary. Now go." From underneath the table, Ed spotted the legs of the approaching agents across the room. He opened fire, following the pops from his gun. A piercing strain cut through the room. The tall agent dropped to the ground, clenching his leg. "Fuck. Okay, I'm going," James said, scrambling on his hands and knees toward the door, using the tables as protection. More shots were fired as he scrambled near the exit. He heard bullets whizzing past his head, slamming nozzle harmlessly against the wall. Ed fired back at the agents, making them take cover behind the tables, which gave James enough time to get to the door. He swiped the keycard in front of the touchpad. To his relief, the door slid open and he rolled through the doorway. The bangs of gunshots echoed loudly back in the commons. Peeking around the corner, James could see the short agent crouching behind Dr. Patty, using the old man as a human shield. Edward, who was not going to find the agent with Dr. Patty right in front of him, had stopped shooting and was hunkered down behind an overturned table. There was another gunshot and blood burst up the back of Ed's right shoulder, which he had not managed to hide behind the table. "No!" James cried, slamming the glass door. Ed's face contorted in pain. He dropped his gun and clenched his shoulder with his opposite hand and collapsed on the spot. The tall agent had regained his composure and was now inching toward Ed. A shred of his shirt was wrapped around his leg as a makeshift touring quilt. Both agents were now converging on the spot where Ed lay wounded. James instinctively reached for the key card to open the door back up. He could not leave Ed to die. The shorter agent was slowly approaching, gun raised, ready to deliver a final shot. With speed he wasn't aware he possessed, James swiped his keycard across the sensor and the door in front of him opened. Both agents cocked their heads toward the door. Their menacing glares landed on James, who now stood dumbfounded in the doorway. He instantly regretted his decision to open the door. "What are you doing?" Ed yelled, but James didn't have time to respond. He watched as the short agent drew a bead on him with his gun. James could already feel the bullet ripping through his rib cage, puncturing his lungs, and defacing his aorta. James reflexively shut his eyes, and a gunshot rang out. He bit his lip as he waited for impact, but no bullet wound appeared in his chest. When he opened his eyes, he was surprised to see the short agent falling backward. The agent's limp body slapped the tile floor. A bloody bullet hole had been drilled into his forehead. The source of the bullet was evident. Ed lay prone on the ground, his left hand still aiming the gun. "Now get out of here," Ed shouted through clenched teeth dyed red with blood. Picking himself up off the floor, James dashed back down the hallway. The clatter of gunfire rang out behind him. By the time the glass door slid shut, James was in a mad sprint toward the elevators. With his right hand, he pulled the gun from his waistband and squeezed the pistol until his hand gripped. The solid hand of the gun was a small comfort in the face of an imminent confrontation with Ari. He just hoped that Linda was still safe. He would kill Ari if he had to. He was no hero, but with his family's lives on the line, he would find the courage to do anything. Pat had not moved. He sat, head hanging on his knees in front of his mother's memorial. Above them, the sky looked menacing. Martyrs didn't want to interrupt Pat's mourning, but they needed to find shelter soon. That's when she heard the desperate barking of a dog somewhere nearby. Modest's heart jumped at the sound of life. The animal sounded incredibly frantic to her. By the edginess in the bark, she assumed the dog had been locked up somewhere for quite some time, its owners most likely dead. With a burning need to rescue the dog, she stepped in and put a hand on Pat. I'm really sorry, but I think we need to go soon. The storm is getting close. The only response she got was a slow nod. I'm gonna go find this dog. I don't want it to stay outside during the storm. You can stay here if you want. I can come back for you. Pat shook his head. No, it's fine. Sitting here isn't going to change anything. A couple of blocks away, they found the source of the barking. The dog was in the backyard of a pretty blue house with white trim. The front of the house was lined with rose bushes. A short white picket fence marked the front yard's boundaries. From behind the backyard fence, the dog continued to bark insistently. I'm going in to get it. I can't see any more death today. Do you mind if I wait out here? Not at all. I'll be right back. Martis walked up to the front door and rang the doorbell twice, just in case. She couldn't help but imagine what unpleasant images awaited her. After waiting a minute, she peered through the narrowed windows on each side of the door. She saw nothing but an empty living room. Finally, waking up the courage to open the door, she turned the knob. Her heart skipped a beat as the unlocked door swung open. They hadn't even bothered to lock the front door, something unfathomable to her. A woman who lived among strung-out addicts and criminals. In the living room, the couch was void of any angelic child's body. She breathed a sigh of relief. Next, she checked the master bedroom, empty. The bedroom was normal, perfectly made bed, candles in a plethora of picture frames filled with smiling faces. She picked up one of the frames off the dresser and stared longingly at the happy family sitting in the field of bluebonnet flowers. Martis could not control her tears. Her eyes were watering, teardrops began to trickle off her long eyelashes and roll down her cheeks while she fought back the sobbing. Upstairs, there was an empty boys' room lined with sports posters, video games, and action figures. Down the hall, she found a little girl's room that was empty too. Brightly colored walls, tea sets, and dolls. No dead family here. The barking of the dog in the backyard once caught her attention. In the back of her mind, she knew that it was she who needed the company of the dog more than the dog needed her. She found the back door and opened it. From the side of the house, she heard the swiftly approaching jangle of a dog collar. Martis was unprepared for what bounded around the corner. A mass of fluorescence sprang up onto her, wet paws staining her white shirt. It took a second to comprehend that the neon fur belonged to an orange Labrador. She had never seen a glow pet quite like it, big and brilliant. The dog wagged its tail as she scratched the animal's bright belly. Good dog, we have something in common, don't we? Those bastards made you a freak too. What's your name? She asked as she patted its side. No stranger to the unfairness of genetic modifications. Martis already felt like she had a bond with the animal. She slipped her hand around its collar and looked at the tag. Clementine, that's a good name. Are you hungry? Let's find some food. In a pantry, she found the dog food and poured a couple scoops into the food bowl in the kitchen and filled up another bowl with water. The dog greedily attacked the bowl, splashing water everywhere, scattering the dry food across the floor. Next, it was her turn. She was famished. In the pantry, she found some granola bars, which she took back to the kitchen table. She scratched Clementine's back and then collapsed into a chair. After she unwrapped the rectangles of oats, she greedily crammed them into her mouth. The blisters on her feet throbbed painfully. She was finally home, she thought, but whose home she did not know.